Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway. Hope everyone is having a great day. Jim Coyle with you here, and Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com as always as well. Hope everyone's having a great day. We have reached the halfway point of this first week of 2023, sir. January 4th, and it keeps on rolling. How's it? How's your day going?
My day's going great. I got no complaints. How about you?
Nobody wants to listen to them.
Exactly. So why even start? Why even start?
Exactly. I hope everyone is getting ready for the college football playoff championship coming up on Monday. Best ratings in 5 years for the college football semifinals. Not shocked. Who's shocked with that? No one. They were just great games, and how could it not be the best ratings in 5 years? Let's see. I need to go back and see which game was actually the highest rated.
It would. My guess would have been Ohio State, Georgia.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back to that page. Unfortunately, I'm not there. My computer's running slow today.
It would be very interesting to know what. I don't remember the date those games were played on 5 years ago, but I think the college football playoff found something with New Year's Eve, which is surprising because you think a lot of people aren't going to be home. But hey, maybe they found. I mean, apparently they found some sort of formula, or maybe just because we had something interesting this year, we had something new. This was the first time we had.
It was on Saturday, first of all.
Well, I feel like that's part of it, but still New Year's Eve.
Yeah, but see, I thought they got away from the New Year's Eve thing. Did they play this on New Year's Eve last year?
Yes, they did. Because last year, I'm going to rub this. Last year I played golf and then covered the two games when I was working at Saturday Tradition. So I remember for sure that those games were played on New Year's Eve. Now I don't know if it was the same way a couple years before. They played the games on New Year's Eve, then they went away from them, and then the past 2 seasons at least they played them on New Year's Eve. I don't know how many years in a row they've done that, but it's been at least 2.
Let's see. And Georgia is hopeful that they're tied in. Washington and linebacker Chambliss are ready for the championship. Let's see. Their TCU starting running back is questionable for the title game. So I'm pretty sure those guys will be playing.
I would think so. I mean, unless you cannot go, those guys are going to want to play in a national championship game. So I can't imagine they're going to sit out unless if they can't give anything. I mean, I can't imagine the biggest game sitting out. I mean, I hate that for those guys that it's going to come down to the wire, but I assume that they'll try to play in some capacity.
Absolutely. And don't forget about any update on Damar Hamlin. Have you seen?
The Buffalo Bills released something yesterday. He was still in critical condition. I don't recall the specifics of the details, but I have not seen an update on his status this morning anyway. This afternoon, I have not seen an update.
Still thinking about him and his family. His GoFundMe page that he had started to raise his goal was to raise $2,500 for presence in his hometown, a small hometown, has now exceeded $5 million.
Amazing.
$5 million,
That's incredible.
It is absolutely incredible. But most importantly, everyone's thinking and hoping that he's going to be okay. I was watching late last night something on the news that had some doctors on there, and they performed CPR for 9 minutes on the field. But everyone is hopeful that he's young, so he has youth on his side, and his vital signs were all apparently good.
Back to normal.
Yeah, back to normal. So that's a good thing. So thinking about him and the family, and it's hard to address that because I didn't really get to see it all until last night. And man, yeah, it was just that's hard to deal with, especially I can't imagine players and all that goes with that.
Yeah, and I mean the NFL has said they're not gonna play the game this week. They're gonna keep Week 18 pretty much scheduled. So I think that they're going to probably call that game whatever, a tie, or I don't know how they're going to go about it, whatever the case might be. But I mean, to go back to your point on Monday night, I mean, I was watching Purdue Rutgers, the Pacers were playing, so I didn't see it live either. I was watching a lot of basketball that night, and then you just you immediately turn when those games ended, and it was a devastating sight to see. So yeah, we're all thinking about him, praying and hoping he pulls through on this. It's definitely one of the scariest situations, but sometimes in these situations, good things happen. And we saw like $5 million to raise for presents for his charity. I mean, that gives, as crummy as the world seems sometimes, that showed the humanity that we still have. And so that was a really cool thing to see.
Yep. Let's see. As I said, the college football playoffs enjoyed their best ratings in 5 years. Georgia's 42-41 win. Man, how did Ohio State miss a field goal? How does a team like that in that position miss a field goal? You just gee whiz.
Well, it wasn't just that they missed the field goal. I mean, that was not even close. And you know what was interesting? I don't know. Again, there's so many plays I'd like to go back and watch from that game. The after CJ Stroud pick, we talked about this on Tuesday with Mike DeCourcy. After CJ Stroud's 30-yard scramble to get him into field goal range, they ran the football. They talked about in the postgame how they'd run that play again. I want to see if there was some sort of missed assignment, if they got the look they wanted, what happened on that play, because they went away from being aggressive. And then on the field goal, Noah Ruggles, who's been pretty close to as automatic as you get for Ohio State, not even close, but immediately he picked up the holder. He picked up the field, the place kick holder. And so it made me wonder, did he get the laces out? Was there a botch with the hold, or was it clean? I don't know. I have not gone back and watched it. I did not watch it quite that closely in real time. There was some, it was New Year's Eve. There was some extracurricular festivities happening. So there's some things I want to go back and see. I don't know if it was a clean operation. I don't know what happened, but it's not uncommon for a guy to miss a kick. But for a guy like him, and again, he's been in these pressure situations. Last year, I believe he drilled the game-winning kick against Utah in the Rose Bowl. It was probably like a 30-yarder instead of a 50-yarder, but nonetheless, it's not like that was his first time making attempting a big-time kick.
Renata correcting me, that GoFundMe page is now over $6 million. And I guarantee you it doesn't stop climbing.
No.
That's just incredible to see. Fred jumping on. Haven't seen you in a bit. This was Wisconsin basketball.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll talk about them today.
I'm telling you. I said
don't get excited, Dustin. We'll talk about them.
Okay.
Let's see. See, that's what it wasn't what people thought it was. There was still working going on. And
well, maybe Five Left is back from vacation.
Oh, I hope so. We had a flood here, FYI.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's not good.
In the ISB studios, but it's all good now. We're all good to go. But Larry says he's looking like a stormy day down there in Southwest Georgia. Hope it's what isn't that a song? Rainy Night in Georgia?
There might be. There's
Michael's
a song
on with us.
Oh,
you can keep going. I'm just.
There was a song by The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia by Reba.
That's it. Maybe that's it. I think that's it. Yeah. Everybody jumping on, man. Appreciate everybody on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, of course. We're brought to you by Andy Moore Honda, where you can go to andymoorehonda.com and find the greatest deals in new and used vehicles and probably find a hell of a deal on a 2022, as they always want to get rid of those things. Kenneth on as well. Like I said, Renata, appreciate you. And Fred. Jack Graham jumping on. Jack, how are you, buddy? From Washington State. Holy cannolis, brother. You're up and at it today. Jack, I used to my last television sports anchor job was in Washington State. Very cool. But if you can see Mount Rainier is in Oregon, isn't it? Or is it in Washington? I can't remember. Mount Hood's in Oregon. Mount Rainier is in Washington. I remember visiting Pete, who you see on here quite a bit. He used to live out in Portland, and waking up on his floor. This is, of course, back in our 20s. Waking up on his floor one time in his apartment. He lived on the 3rd floor, and I could look out his sliding glass door and look at Mount Hood.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
I mean, I could just roll over and look at it. It was pretty cool. Fred, great to see you, brother, in Easton, Pennsylvania, home of the Easton Assassin. Is that what I have written down? I like to write this stuff down because I forget. I'm not the greatest at remembering all this stuff, but we've got too many great fans and listeners from all over the place.
That's right.
I hope everyone's doing well, but I'm going to write that one down, baby. That goes in the book to make sure. It could be in here twice. Who knows? I got a lot of double entries, and I don't care. There can be more. But, Ross jumping on already as well. I know he's down in southern Kentucky. I can remember that. Brad, everybody's at it today, man.
Everybody's back to work.
Philip, New Mexico, the last unbeaten team fell to Fresno State last night. So
wow.
No, the 1976 guys are not popping champagne corks. Somebody asked that to I think it was Quinn Buckner one time, and he's like, nah, we don't worry about that stuff, man. Will there ever be an undefeated champion again in college basketball?
I would never say never, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for that to ever happen again.
Renata, no, I've not seen that, but if you could send it to us or John, the producer, or tell us where to get that, we'd sure like to. Brian, how are you, brother? I love you. We love you very much. Where are you listening from, Brad? I always like to take that in. Let us know where you're listening from. Brian B. Man, it's like magic. Being back here, it just changes things. And I know John's going to beat me on the head if I don't take this break. So I'll get to everybody else when we come back. Hey, don't forget, we're brought to you by our great friends from Endeavor Hospitality and the Wow Club. Make sure you go sign up for the Wow Club. Start earning Wow rewards today to a myriad of great restaurants and places in and around Bloomington, like BB's Market, which I cannot wait to get back to and visit. And I'm going to go visit there today just to, like a kid in a candy store, and just walk around and see Chef JD and what they've got going on in that full size bakery. I have a piece of chocolate peanut butter pie in the refrigerator.
Oh,
but it's been in there for 2.5 weeks. Okay,
now I'm less interested.
But it's been in a container, and I haven't researched it yet. Is that sustainable?
I would proceed with caution on that one.
Well, I'm one of those that, like I've said before, I'll leave a pizza in the car all night long, and I don't care. I'll go out and get it and eat it. But we've got to take a break because we've got the great one coming up next. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Jim Iron Gut Coyle. Good morning,
Welcome
Bob.
back, Mr. Kravitz.
Well, thanks for having me. How are you?
We're good. How are
Doing
you?
Good. How are you feeling?
I feel fine. I was only sick for about a week and a half. I lost my voice completely. I was whispering for about 4 weeks. You can still kind of hear it, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing that I mean, what was the diagnosis?
It was just a respiratory infection, and it just it was bronchitis, I guess. I don't know, but I lost my voice. My wife loved it.
Wait a minute. I got bronchitis. I got bronchitis. Oh, see, now that's where we need that road.
I was thinking the same thing. I got
bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Hey, by the way, I've got that. I don't know when you'll want to use it, but I've got the sound of Hunter Dickinson calling the Badgers scumbags.
Oh, jeez.
What are you getting all worked up about? You're not
Wait.
a Badger.
I know, but okay. I'm not.
Bob Kravitz.
Bob Kravitz.
Bob Kravitz. Guess who is a Wisconsin Badger?
Brad Davison.
Probably, but
Not probably. He was.
Rocky Patel.
Who's he?
Cigar guy?
Mike DeCourcy had the same reaction.
I thought you're not a cigar guy?
On occasion.
You've never heard of Rocky Patel cigars?
No, I never have.
You're not a cigar guy.
Yeah, I guess I'm not hardcore.
He's
I'm
like
not either.
one of the most famous cigar makers.
He's a Toronto Maple Leafs guy.
I am a Leafs guy, baby. Whatever hat I throw on in the morning, that's who I am.
I've got a non-sports question for Bob when we go on the air. It's about a tweet he sent out a few weeks ago.
Oh, God. Okay.
Going back into the archives a few weeks ago, huh?
Yeah. Well, it came back. It was that snowstorm.
The what?
It was during this. I believe it was during the snowstorm.
Okay. I will endeavor to answer.
Have we even talked to you since the Colts gave up that ridiculous lead to the Vikings?
No, it's been a month.
Thank you, Sid. See, it's a rainy night in Georgia. I knew what the hell I was talking about. Come on, man.
I haven't heard that song.
All right, here we go.
Bloomington offers a variety of freshly made fare, tying their roots in limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious, 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, everybody. The Indiana Sports Beat Radio brought to you by our good friends from Southern Stone, where each Monday at 7:05 you can find Don Fisher and Indiana basketball coach Mike Woodson for Inside Indiana Basketball. And in addition to that, you can go there anytime for an incredible meal at unbelievable prices. It still shocks me the food, how the gourmet food they have for the regular prices. Bob Kravitz joins us now from The Athletic. We have missed you, my friend, and glad to have you back. I know you're still battling the throat voice thing, but man, we're glad to have you. We missed you, and the people did too.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that people came to your studio. You know,
They were picketing. They were picketing outside. We want Kravitz. We want Kravitz.
Exactly. I don't get that kind of reception at home, but I do in your show.
And one of the reasons why we've been waiting for you to come back is I've had a burning question for you for a couple weeks now, ever since the Indiana snowstorm hit and swept across all of America. big time tweet you sent out, maybe slightly controversial, but I have a big question to ask, and that is, you sent out a tweet that says because of some health concerns, you can't shovel the snow, so your wife goes out and does it, and the least you could do is cheer her on and enjoy a glass of bourbon. Exactly. So my question to you is, what bourbon are you pouring while she's out there shoveling?
Well, just this may not be of any interest to anybody except for you, Dustin, but I've just kind of jumped on the bourbon train. Just recently, a friend of mine turned me on to some stuff. So I've been doing the double oaked Woodford.
Okay, that's good stuff.
That's good stuff. Yeah. I told myself that I was taking it for health reasons, to clear up
medicinal product.
My voice and stuff. But it didn't help, but I felt a hell of a lot better.
See, there you go. That's all that matters. There's Four Roses.
Four Roses. I hear that's good too.
Yellow label. It's like silk.
Silk. Yellow label. You got to go small batch 4 Roses. That's the best.
Small batch 4 Roses. Okay. Next time I go to the liquor store, which will probably be tonight.
There we go. I've got a collection here of about 10 bottles, so I can do my best to hook you up.
Oh,
of the same one?
No. We try different ones in this house. I go to the liquor store and I peruse. I mean, it's like a kid at Toys R Us. I go straight.
What is the best bourbon that you have? What is the best bourbon that you have?
Good question. We have some Whistle Pig.
What's the most expensive you have?
I would prefer not to answer that one. Here it is.
We'll talk about this later when we don't have the great Bob Kravitz then.
I will answer it real quick. We went to St. Augustine Distillery, my brother and I. They had a special release that they were giving away. St. Augustine Eve's Blind, and it was $150.
Wow, that's impressive.
Which one was that? Which one was that?
It's St. Augustine Eve's Blind. You could only get it at the distillery, and it was only a limited time. So if you only get it for a limited time, that's usually I don't spend more than $40. But that one.
What distillery was it?
St. Augustine Distillery in St. Augustine, Florida. Which, if you ever go, by the way, free tours and samples.
Is that bourbon or whiskey?
It was bourbon.
Yeah, I'm not trusting bourbon coming from Florida. I'm sorry. But that's okay.
That's a lot
but even though, Bob, you've been out with the throat thing, you've been able to type away and write stories, and you've been firing those out. And I guess we might as well get to the horse in the room.
Dead horse.
The dead horse in the room wearing the shoe upside down. Is there any way they go after Jim Harbaugh?
Yes, they're going to. They are absolutely going to go after Harbaugh. They're going to make him say no. But, the Carolina Panthers are going to do the same thing. And they have a very, very rich owner. And they're
and the Nugget, and Denver, aren't they in need as well?
Yes, I was getting there. If you let me finish my sentence. Yes, and Denver, people are like, well, he's so expensive, Harbaugh. I'm like, but Jim Irsay's worth about $4 or $5 billion, right? The Penner family's worth about $70 billion. So I would suggest that they are probably in better financial situation to pay Harbaugh what he wants. So we'll see. We'll see if his relationship with the Colts and Irsay is so strong that he decides to come here. I think he would be bat crap crazy to come here, because I think this is, and I wrote this the other day, I think this is the most dysfunctional program, team, franchise in all of NFL, the NFL. So I think he'd be crazy, but hey.
And how did they get there, Bob? They weren't. This used to be the exact opposite. They were. I mean, I know I'm going back and when you're talking about having the great GM and Peyton Manning and all that, when that was rolling, and they seemed to make all the right decisions, and then this train has just driven, and it's like it's just went off a cliff. And it's. I thought that potentially the Jeff Saturday thing was a way to tank without appearing to tank, but it's when you watch the team basically quitting in games. I mean, I hate to use I got to give him credit. Dan Dockage sent this tweet out. It was a retweet, but the Colts were getting outscored 90-10 in the fourth quarter.
Right.
I mean, that is absolutely the epitome of quitting.
That's pretty damning. Look, bringing Saturday in was basically Irsay lost trust in Reich, which is why he fired him, and he lost trust in Ballard. And he's not going to fire Ballard because he's making a lot of money. They don't want to pay two guys to do nothing till 2026. So he decided, the hell with it, I'm going to stand up and make these big decisions. And those big decisions were to go with Sam Ehlinger early in the season, to fire Frank Reich afterwards, to hire Jeff Saturday against the wishes of Chris Ballard and some other people in the organization. And here you go. This is what you get.
And one of the things that is interesting to me, Bob, is you look at the Colts, and we've talked about this, and I know you've been adamant about this, that the Colts have to draft a quarterback. It's time to stop playing, get off the carousel basically and get your guy for the future. My question to you is, the offensive line has also been abysmal this year. Is there going to be, you've got to fix a lot of things with this team right now. I don't know if just simply drafting the quarterback is gonna give you what you want. I mean, I have concerns that if they don't fix things on the offensive line, it could be potentially a wasted draft pick. So do you think it's a lock that they get a quarterback in the draft? Okay.
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it's going to be either Bryce Young, who's probably going to go number one to Houston. Then it's going to come down to Stroud and Levis and who they fall in love with. I guess in theory, Anthony Richardson could be a guy that they look at late, if they trade down, but I don't see that happening. I think they're going to stay right where they are. They're going to go get one of those three guys. The offensive line, you still got some good guys who played poorly this year, but Ryman, the left tackle, has been much better in the last 6 weeks. I mean, everybody knew he was going to be a project. He really wasn't supposed to be playing this much this year. They need a new right guard. I'm not sure it's as big a fix as some of the other areas of this team, but to me, the biggest thing is Irsay's got to get the hell out of the way. Irsay has just got to let the football people do what the football people do, which is what he used to do. Right. He used to be a great owner who was basically a sounding board and something of a rubber stamp. But he was involved without being meddlesome. This year, he's taken that jump, and he's been very much like his late father when it comes to being involved in the processes in the football decisions.
With this job being not as attractive as it should be, and Jim Harbaugh is obviously has to be. We talked about him being someone that they have to chase. But what if that falls through? I know that everybody says, "Oh, I was talking to people, and he's not going anywhere." Yeah. I don't care what he said last year. This would not be the exact first time that a coach said, "I'm not going anywhere," and then they go somewhere. Right. So that doesn't mean jack. But let's say the Harbaugh thing doesn't work out, then where do they turn?
Well, I think you got to take a run at Sean Payton, who will not come here because there's no quarterback and no stability and a lot of front office maneuvering. There's no way he comes here. I think then you go to the second level guys, D'Amico Ryans, defensive coordinator at Houston, Shane Steichen in Philly. I think they're going to end up with one of those secondary guys. Look, There's only 32 of these jobs. Guys are going to line up for them. My point the other day was none of the big guys are going to take this damn job. And if I'm wrong, you can replay this 1,000 times, and I'll mea culpa, till the cows come home. But that's kind of where it stands. I think they're going to get one of the secondary guys.
A name that's been popular in the past couple seasons, whether it's been for an NFL job or a college job, has been Eric Bieniemy. Is there any chance they go after him?
I think there is because, you have the relationship with him and Ballard, but there's something with Eric Bieniemy that I don't know. Whether it's his ability to interview or something in his personal life or something football related, I don't know. But there is a reason why Eric Bieniemy has interviewed for just about every job in the last 3 years and has not come up with a job as head coach. So I don't see it happening, but you never say never.
And so now a team that has so much to fix, and if they end up with a second-tier guy, what good have you actually done? Well, what good will firing Frank Reich actually have done now if you end up being and continue being in a lesser position than you were?
Well, you look, a guy like Shane Steichen or D'Amico Ryans could end up being fabulous coaches. We don't know. I mean, they haven't been head coaches, so they may just be fine. I mean, the big thing is they got to get the quarterback thing straightened away. And, sadly, I think this is going to be a bit of a rebuild. I think it's going to, once in a while a rookie comes in like an Andrew Luck and you go 11-5 and it's a miracle. But you go back to Peyton Manning in 1998, they were 3-13, and he set the NFL record for most interceptions thrown by a rookie quarterback with 28, which is a record that he desperately wants somebody to.
Yeah, I wish you could go on the Peyton and Eli cast on Monday nights. I'm sure Eli loves bringing that up. They love.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know where it goes from here, but it starts with the quarterback. I still think they need some help at wide receiver. They need some help on the offensive line. They need help at tight end. Jelani Woods has made some nice strides, but I don't know if he's the guy long term. He might be. The weird thing with Jelani is he had a breakout game and then he didn't play for 3 games. So go figure that one out.
We just saw a tweet. I just saw it this morning, but Iowa's Patrick McCaffrey is taking an extended time off for mental health.
Yes.
This is something we never, ever saw, in sports back in the day. And now this is starting to become, I don't want to say, happens all the time, but we see it now. But for a coach's son, and I forget what year he is, but isn't he like a 5th-year guy?
I believe so.
For a 5th-year guy, the son of the head coach, to be doing this, I mean, I don't know that says anything, but it just sure begs a lot of questions. I don't know. Is this something he's been dealing with his entire life? Which that's none of my business. So I'm not asking that. But
let me tell you guys something. I don't know if either one of you have dealt with it, but anxiety is debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
It is debilitating. You don't even want to leave the damn house.
Right.
Okay. Much less go out and perform on a basketball court in front of 20,000 people and then talk to the media and be around people. I've mentioned this in a column before. I've dealt with it on and off over the last 20 years. And he is doing absolutely the right thing. Get your mentals right, as they say. And, you can't worry about the team. You can't worry about your dad, the coach. You just got to take care of yourself. Now, whether this is something he's been dealing with for quite some time or whether this was something that cropped up recently, I don't know. but I give him enormous credit for being honest about it and for getting it dealt with.
And then now this is we bring that up because Iowa is Indiana's opponent tomorrow night as Indiana comes off of a long extended break. And there's a lot of talking points for this game. Iowa is currently 0-3 in the Big Ten.
Right.
So and that's not expected. They lose to Eastern Illinois. And so now Indiana it's probably makes it a little easier for Indiana going there because this was going to be a tough game. Not only is this your first game back after a long layoff, even though Iowa's been losing, they've been playing, and this is a late game. This is a 9:00 tip on the road. So that's probably the least, all that stuff would play against Indiana, but this obviously gives them helps them out. They don't have Xavier Johnson. So Indiana should have a lot better shot in this game, but we still have to see this team play tough, play like they want to win. And Mike DeCourcy used a comment that I love. He said, there's a difference between playing hard and playing your hardest. So, and that's the thing I don't think we've always seen from this team, but they are too talented. And now they could go in there and steal a great road win.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for them. I'm really intrigued that they're going to, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I misread this, but they're going to go with Tamar Bates in place of Galloway. I love Galloway's game, but I love it off the bench. I love it when he starts. But Tamar Bates, I think, gives them an offensive boost that they wouldn't get from Galloway. But yeah, this I still think this is going to be a good competitive Big Ten team that's going to compete in the top quartile of the Big Ten. But yeah, this is a game they cannot afford to lose, period.
What's up next for you, brother?
Well, I'm probably writing something for tomorrow on the Jeff Saturday experiment and why it hasn't worked. I got a couple of pieces. I got a really long piece, Dustin. You'll be happy about this on Halliburton.
Yes.
Who has been phenomenal. And the fake wannabe all-star has been phenomenal. Since he said that, they're 6-1, and he's been playing lights out. So and I got him talking about his desire to be in Indianapolis for a really, really long time, unlike Paul George or Victor Oladipo or even Domas, because Domas wanted out too. So that'll be down the line probably next week.
Well, and the Pacers are on fire, winning 4 straight, 6 of 7. A team that no one expected to be in the top half of the conference. It's funny. That's just desire, man. And they're getting it, youth and desire. And man, if they can add a few more pieces.
Yeah, and connectedness. The only bad thing is this is going to be a great draft. And if they make the playoffs or the play-in game or whatever, they got no chance. They got no shot at some of those guys. But they are building a core here. Rick Carlisle, to me, I have not looked at the rest of the league, but he's got to be in consideration for Coach of the Year.
Yes,
I thought they would win 22 to 25 games. They've won. How many have they won so far?
Are they 21-17, I think?
Yeah, they've already reached what I thought they would do this year. Shows you what I know.
And I think if they get 3 more wins, they would have surpassed the Vegas over-under in terms of victories this season.
Right.
So it's insane. And it's not just the thing that even more than the wins and losses. And I actually heard Mark Boyle say this on one of his broadcasts a couple weeks ago, was nobody's talking about the Pacers record. Nobody's talking about the games they're winning. They're talking about how fun they are to watch. It is such a drastic difference from get it into Sabonis, watch him dribble 8 times and throw it up against the glass and hope it goes in, as opposed to we're up and down. Guys can hit threes. You don't know which guy's going to have a big night. You can always expect almost Tyrese Halliburton to have a double-double almost every game. But outside of that, sometimes it's Buddy Hield. Sometimes it's Benedict Mathurin. Sometimes Miles Turner has been phenomenal. I thought he was a guy that would maybe cash it in a little bit and just wait to get traded. I mean, that dude is balling out in some of these big games. Well, it's just so fun to watch.
Miles knew that he's a free agent at the end of the year. He knew he had to ball out if he wanted to get paid. So that doesn't surprise me. But the fact that he doesn't have to share the lane with Sabonis anymore, he just looks freed up. He's a different player. But yeah, they're second in the league, I believe, in pace, in assists. They're just playing really good, free-flowing, controlled chaos kind of basketball, and it's absolutely beautiful to watch. And they screwed up. They're not going to get Wimbledon now. It's been great to watch, and I'll be writing quite a bit about them in the weeks to come.
Looking forward to it, brother. Bob Kravitz with The Athletic. Make sure you go there and give him a follow because that's where the great content is. Bob, thank you, sir. Great to have you back. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Happy Kwanzaa. I'm missing the main one that I'm trying to get out, and I can't think of it right now.
Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Everything.
Thank you, buddy. Same to you guys. Great to see you again.
You too. Look forward to seeing you again next week. Everybody who's missing you. We're coming back with more here on Indiana Sports Speed Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Endeavor Hospitality and GoTeam. You can pick that up at BB's Market, or you can just go online and pick it up, goteam.com. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal.
Okay. Neddenriep will be on not this segment, but the 9:30 segment, so this one will be a little short. Just a wee bit short. Oh, if you want to, since it is short, do the Hunter Dickinson stuff. I've got that pulled up, like I said earlier. Is there any swearing in this? Has anyone listened to this before?
I have not.
Well, I guess we're going to find out together. If there is, I'll just cut it out after the fact. But
Did you know there's an average attendance requirement to remain in FBS school?
Huh?
Really?
Per game.
Why, is somebody getting demoted?
No. But
is that why Idaho moved to FCS a few years ago?
Probably.
I would not know. It's probably more to do with financial. But
yeah, because I thought when Idaho moved, it was on their own accord. They weren't forced to move.
It probably did.
Hell, Indiana could probably benefit. They could win championships in the FCS if they tried hard enough, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I tell you what, one thing that's aggravating, y'all can talk about this later, maybe with Rick, is the serious talks of expanding the NCAA tournament.
Oh, I saw that.
My God.
90 teams.
Wow.
Isn't that what it was?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to read about right now.
Thanks to I love how the SEC controls everything now. It's such a
that John was what thank you for bringing that up. That's what I had on my mind.
Oh,
because I didn't actually read the story, but I saw some tweets about it. And I was like, that would be a good topic.
All right, here we go.
provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast, Market, and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this Wednesday, January 4th of the new year, 2023. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com as well.
John brought us back with that sweet romance music.
Absolutely.
See, I was thinking more. It's not to get the different vibes. I was thinking more. You're floating through space with that kind of thing. But hey,
of course,
we all have different. That's the beauty of music. Your own interpretations.
There you go.
Of course, we're brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore, and her 2 decades of experience could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Man, the NCAA is looking at doing potentially some wacky things. The NCAA Transformation Committee recommends expanded postseason access, sports committees, various things like that. Basically, among the recommendations were a push for Division I team sports sponsored by more than 200 institutions to consider expanding their postseason fields. And it's not one particular sport, but it includes basketball, baseball, to expand their tournaments if desired, and an advisement that football governance remain under the purview of the NCAA. There's a certain magic to college sports that cannot be easily described, committee co-chair Julie Cromer said. We think the Big Tent, a large, diverse Division I, is part of that magic. It's worth working through the issues we see today to keep it intact. I'm not sure exactly what she means by that, but a 90-team men's basketball tournament ain't it. The Transformation Committee is recommending that D1 sports teams try to implement a postseason that includes 25% of the teams that meet the Division I standard in the sport. Final decisions on changes to that size of each sports postseason bracket will need to be approved by that sports governing body by January 24th for implementation in the following season. Let's see. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. They also recommended the FBS consider its football attendance requirement, which I did not realize they had one, while focusing on other elements that directly link experience to FBS member criteria. But the NCAA requires an average attendance of 15,000 fans per game once every 2 years to maintain FBS status. A measure meant to incentivize investment in football, but calls for the requirement to be lifted have gained momentum in recent years. So I didn't know that was even there, first of all. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I didn't even think it mattered with the television contracts, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, that's probably why they're like, who cares? Let's make that go away.
Right.
But asking each sport to implement a postseason big enough to include 25% of the institutions that sponsor it may end with completely different results for different sports. What makes sense for one may not make sense for another, and I absolutely agree with that. What will happen with the NCAA men's basketball tournament? That's the biggest thing, because if you do the math, 25% of 363 is around 90 teams. Nobody wants to see and needs to see 90 teams in the freaking tournament. I'm sorry. I mean, stop with this. Everybody gets a freaking trophy thing, man.
Well, okay, so 2 things can be true. So this would be my point with this. Number one is, I don't buy the notion that if you expand to 90 teams or whatever, that you're letting quote unquote everybody in, because there's over 350 teams. So I don't subscribe to that. Now, here's the other thing, Jim, because I'm on your side. They don't need to expand it. The problem, look at how many games we do see upsets. But a couple of years ago was the first time we saw a 16 seed beat a number 1 seed. We don't need to go further as to where we see a 1 seed play a 24 seed. We don't need to diverge into that even further. Like, to me, the tournament is perfect. You get, if we had 16 seeds beating 1 seeds every year or every other year or something, maybe I'd be a little bit more open to it. But it's pretty clear that a number 1 seed is not losing to the 64th, 65th, 66th best team in the country very often. I mean, in terms of who gets in. So there's no need to expand it. What you're going to do is then reward mediocrity. This is where I have an issue. You're going to then reward even more mediocrity to these power programs because you think they're going to take a team like a Kennesaw State or a Central Arkansas or an FIU or an FAU. No, they're going to take 7-13 Minnesota. They're going to take an 8-12 Mississippi State. It's going to benefit these power conferences that are already getting boatloads of money, and it's not really going to reward the lower conference teams. And so that's where I would have a problem with it. So I don't agree with the idea that it's giving everybody a trophy if you expand it, but at the same time, you are rewarding mediocrity for those power conferences.
Okay, that's giving everybody a trophy. It's the same thing. That's what giving everyone a trophy is. Rewarding mediocrity. That's rewarding. That is what that is doing, is rewarding non-excellence.
But I'm talking about the sheer numbers of it. Like, it's still whatever that percent is, 25. There's over 350 teams.
I know that, but there's just because that does not mean that 25% of them are deserving to be in this tournament.
I agree with that. I agree with that point.
So it to me, it is that you're watering it down. It's a waste. It's more potential for injury. Yeah, it's not. I'm against it. I don't think that there's.
You know what I'd like to see, and it's never going to happen because these make too much money, is I would love to see them go back to I want to see the conference champion rewarded, the regular season conference champion rewarded, as opposed to the conference tournament champion.
I agree with that. I don't understand why that is not always the standard. That should always be the first and foremost, because that's a year-long battle that you engage, especially when it's over 20 freaking games involving 10 road games and 10 home games. I'm like, that is the ultimate champion to me. You face the battles and you've won. You won that war. A team that happens to get hot over 4 days does not, to me, in my mind, is not better than a team who won this battle over the entire course of the season.
And I think this goes back like 10 or 12 years. This goes back a while, but I remember, I feel like it was Indiana State and Southeast Missouri or something along those lines. The bottom line is one of those teams was the number 1 team in their conference. The other team was the number 2 team. The championship game went to double overtime, and I think the number 2 team, which was Southeast Missouri, won that game in like double overtime on a buzzer beater 3. It was something crazy. Indiana State did pretty much everything they needed to do, won the regular season, got to the championship game, and then basically got beat on – they played the game even, and they got left out of the tournament, the number 2 seed or 3 seed, whatever they were. Like, I understand that they know what they have to do in order to get to the NCAA tournament. And if you beat some big-time teams, you can get in. But to me, the more impressive accomplishment has always been to win the regular season, not just, as you said, Jim, what if a team gets hot in 4 days? What if a team loses a guy, gets injured, twists his ankle, isn't 100% for one game? So you disregard everything they did in the regular season? Makes no sense to me, but it's all money driven, so it's not going to change. So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't affect the big, again, goes back to, it benefits the power conferences, because a team that wins the Big Ten regular season is never going to get left out of the NCAA tournament. But for those lower conferences, it doesn't make any sense to me. You're basically playing for seeding, and then you have a pre-March Madness, basically. Dumb.
Let's see. Where was what I'm looking for? Kenneth says, take the chumps out and reward a major conference team that would dominate in a weak conference if they switched.
No.
No. I don't. That's not. The one thing, yeah, there are some teams that get in that really scratch your head, but at the same time, who expected the Peacocks to beat Kentucky last year?
Right. Exactly.
Who expected the Peacocks to hell? They didn't just beat Kentucky. How far did they make it?
Elite Eight.
Yeah,
because they got beat by North Carolina, I believe.
Who the hell saw that coming?
Nobody.
So that's the whole thing. That's by you. I agree with it, but you have all that right now. You have it right now. You don't need to add it, and you don't need more. You don't need more Power 5 teams. You know what? If you can't get in, you can't get in. There's enough Power 5 big teams.
That's what I would agree with. You can't swap out some of these Power 5 teams because they have way more opportunities to get into the NCAA tournament than these lower level teams. Way more. You can win the regular season. You can win the conference championship, or if you just schedule and schedule well and beat some good teams, then you'll get in. I agree that most of the time those mediocre Power 5 teams are better than the lower level teams that you see. I mean, we see that in the non-conference schedule, but those teams are major college basketball teams. They deserve a chance to play for a national championship, get in the tournament if they do what they're supposed to do. So those teams have more than enough. We've seen the Big Ten get 9. We've seen the Big East, the old Big East, get 11 teams in. They have ample opportunity to get into the NCAA tournament. We don't need to give them any more chances.
Kenneth says that giving everyone a trophy is giving terrible results rewards. I disagree with that. It's not. It is, but it's also giving mediocre. It's giving everybody. That's the whole point. You don't have to exceed. You don't have to excel. You don't have to be terrible. You can be mediocre, but you didn't excel and you still got a trophy. That's what giving everybody a trophy is, Kenneth. Everybody. When you don't win, you still get a trophy by not winning. You don't have to be terrible. You just didn't win and you still got a trophy. That's giving everybody a trophy. And that's where we are, and society is moving way too far to that. And, let's make everybody feel good. Oh, God, it probably sounds like get off my lawn crap, but I don't think that it is. I think that it leads to other issues. It's just, that's my opinion, and I'm not going to change that. It's just, someone's welcome to try to change it, but
break.
We've got to take a break. We'll talk about it a lot more. Rick Bozich joins us later. Cal Neddenriep as well. So we'll revisit that topic. It's not going away. Appreciate everybody with the comments, man. Everybody's hitting it up high and hard today. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, we're brought to you by Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. If you're down in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harris, and Scott County areas, they have served those communities for 3 decades. No one will get you in the home you want or need quicker and better than Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or our man Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
All right.
The MAC has never had 2 teams in the NCAA tournament. That's shocking.
Right. Kyle will be on here shortly.
I agree with that. No matter what.
It's not even about the bitching. Like that's literally just a facade. The real thing is the SEC wants to rule everything. That's really what it comes down to.
That's my problem. Let's say you gave the lower conferences, say, okay, we'll give them the regular season champion and the tournament champion a spot in. If you did that, I'd have way less of a problem. But what's going to happen is you're going to see 12 SEC teams, 13 Big Ten teams, 8 Pac-10 teams, or Pac-12. And that's like, no, they get more than enough opportunity to get in. Jackasses.
Yeah. The SEC is going to
who are you talking about?
Sports.
Huh?
The SEC? Are you talking about the SEC?
I'm talking about the NCAA.
Oh.
I'm talking about the SEC. The SEC wants to be the only conference that matters.
Well, I mean, they
know that that's not not going to be the case.
Well,
I mean, that's not going to happen.
I don't like the SEC either, but it is also. I mean, that's Greg Sankey's job. He does it well.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. You have to advocate for your guys. I get it, but where it's moving toward does not seem like it's going to be fun in the future to enjoy.
By the way, we have not talked about this, and we probably don't have time today. But Kevin Warren did apply for that or interview for that Chicago Bears job. Shouldn't say apply. I don't know if when you're at that level you apply. Yeah. Spoke with, interviewed.
He was never in it from the get-go.
No.
Joke of a commissioner.
Oh, boy. Yep. You ain't lying.
Mm-hmm. All right, 30 seconds. Here comes Kyle. I'll go ahead and bring us back in.
Prep that we cook up. The Fresh Fork takes care of all the planning, shopping, and prepping and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Feast Market and Cellar, located on Patterson and Rogers, right next door to Southern Stone. Feast offering an extraordinarily selection of great wines with a sommelier on staff to help you out. Joined now by our great friend Cal Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, sir.
Yeah, same to you guys.
Appreciate you. His latest out on Indy Star right now is 20 high school basketball players who caught your eye during the holiday break. Man, that must have kept you busy.
Yeah, I think I saw about 11 games with the Hall of Fame Classic and other holiday tournaments. So, yeah, there's a lot. There seems like in the last, 5 to 10 years, there's just a lot more holiday tournaments that go off during that week between Christmas and New Year's. So, can't complain about that. I mean, it's kind of a chance just to get in the gym and see a lot of, see teams you might not otherwise see, or, just kind of see some matchups you might not see. So, it's kind of a low key, not a ton of, it's not like a Friday night where it's a packed gym, but, that's kind of what I expect. I put out this is kind of an aside or whatever, but just I put out some videos of, games I was covering and people kind of commenting on the crowds. And it's like, I don't even think about, if there's a packed house at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, I would be really surprised. So
right.
People get, I guess that's what social media is for. People just complain about everything. But yeah, I was like, this is not the end of the world that there's not a lot of people here at 11 a.m.
Exactly.
Kyle, have you seen, is there an increase in these kind of holiday tournaments? Is there an emphasis for some of the college coaches around the state, and maybe not just, or maybe even around the Midwest, to get a chance to recruit some of these guys or see guys live in action? Because during that time, we saw Indiana had a 2-week break. Purdue didn't play a lot. There's usually maybe one game. Sometimes there might be two, but this is a time when they get a little bit of an extended break from their team. Do you see an uptick in recruiting during that time, or is that really not a factor during that time of year?
Yeah, it just depends on the schedule. But yeah, I did see Mike Woodson. He was actually part of it was actually I think it was 2 days after Christmas, the IPS Holiday Classic that they had for his high school coach, Bill Smith, who coached at Broad Ripple, and I went out and covered that. And he was there. That wasn't necessarily recruiting, but it kind of speaks to your point that they do have some downtime, and he was with his family. And obviously a lot of friends that he had played with in high school at Broad Ripple. So, but normally, like the Hall of Fame Classic, at Newcastle, I'll see some college coaches there. So yeah, it is a good time for them to get out, and I know they're busy. Obviously, even if you're not playing, you're practicing and you get your day-to-day in-season stuff. So it's not like an April event or a July event necessarily. But yeah, I think guys like Woodson or Matt Painter, who are from Indiana, they kind of just like, or Michael Lewis at Ball State, they kind of just like the Indiana high school basketball scene anyway. So it's a chance for them to get out and see some of that. But yeah, that was, and to the Woodson thing, I mean, that was really cool to see, him. He kind of went out there and did like a jump ball, and then they announced him, and that was neat to see him back in the gym there at Broad Ripple. I hadn't been there. They closed as a school. I think it was 2017, I want to say, or 18. So I hadn't actually been in there since then. And, I get the sense, I think that school has a chance to possibly open back up as a elementary and middle school, and then potentially as a high school if things kind of go like the alumni are hoping. So, I thought it was a bad decision to close it. I know there's reasons why they did it, but there's a whole lot of, they were probably the strongest, or one of the strongest alumni bases in IPS. They still do a homecoming parade. They still do, even they don't even have a school. So that kind of shows you what support they have. But hopefully they can get that. And then one of the alumni told me, as long as the sign out there still says Broad Ripple Rockets, which it does, they still have hope to have it back open. So, but again, yeah, it was a really good week, and yeah, I think it is a chance for not only coaches but people just get out and watch a lot of basketball.
You have a kind of a top 20, like you said, that you put out. Of these guys, how many are major college recruiting potential or current? I know that there's a Notre Dame recruit. I haven't gotten to read every one of them, but any of these major college material?
Yeah, Marcus Burton, definitely. I mean, he's committed to Notre Dame already. I would say Desmond Briscoe, who's actually part of that IPS shootout from Crispus Attucks. He is a sophomore, about 6'7" or 6'8". He's somebody who could be, I think, potentially a high level. I know Indiana's got some interest in him. Most of the other guys are probably, and this is not like a list of like, these are the top guys. It's kind of like guys who I thought kind of stood out. Not necessarily, maybe some guys who don't get some attention. So it wasn't necessarily the top level, like ranking type list, but he's probably the one on there that, is potentially, and he's only a sophomore. Like I said, I think Mark Zachary actually from Ben Davis could be, he has an IU football offer. He's a sophomore as well. And he guarded Marcus Burton, did a fantastic job on him in the Hall of Fame, held him at 9 for 26 shooting. But Zachary, he's a long guard who really made it tough on Burton, very quick as well. But he's a cornerback in football. He's got IU and then basically all of the MAC, and I think he'll get a lot more offers. So he's a guy to watch on the football recruiting scene. But he's also, I think he could be a basketball guy if he wanted to go that route. Jerron Tibbs also, he could be a basketball guy. He's going to Purdue for football. And a lot of the other guys are more, AJ Lux, he's in there from Crown Point. He's going to Bellarmine. Again, not a Big Ten school, but he's a really good high-level shooter. Luke Almodovar, he's a name to watch from Noblesville. I think he could play Division I basketball. He's a really excellent. He's shooting better from 50% from three, but he's super athletic also. So I think he's got a chance. Most of the other guys are a little bit lower level college, either lower Division I or even below that, D2 or whatever. So, but there are some really good players on there. I mean, there's some guys I think who we could eventually be seeing play Division I or Division II at a pretty high level, like Cade Brenner from Northwood, who's going to Huntington. Excellent player. I mean, just strong guard, really good shooter. Guys who like that who are maybe just a level down, but Indiana's so full of guys like that who are just, you watch them in person, you're like, man, this kid can really play. So we're so lucky to have so many players like that around here.
What's Zachary? He's that's amazing. Indiana has not had a basketball football player in a while. That would be pretty interesting to see. And I'm sure Mike Whitson would welcome that because I would think if you're a football player, then you automatically have toughness built into your DNA.
Yeah, and he's a real deal. I mean, you watch him play. And I'm not saying he's a real deal like he's he did. Although the second game he was named MVP of the tournament, which I don't think anybody. I asked him about that. He's like, yeah, I would have never thought, because he was sort of that Ben Davis team's so loaded and so deep. He sometimes he doesn't get to play a lot. And he's a sophomore, so you've got this team of seniors and he's kind of biding his time. I mean, he even told the coaches like, yeah, I don't need to start, I don't. So you got a guy like that who super, talking to him, he's just he gets it, as a young kid. But he's definitely, there aren't any, I don't know if there's anybody who can stay in front of Marcus Burton. Zachary did about as good a job as I think anyone in the state could do. Staying in front of him. He's just so ultra quick, and he got around Zachary a couple times, but for the most part, he defended his shot. He blocked two shots. He was there most of the time. So, and he face guarded him pretty much. I think he played 28 minutes, all 28 minutes. He was on him. So very impressive. Then he hit 4 3-pointers in the third quarter of the Northwood game. That was pretty much all the offense he had in that game, but really got hot from three. So yeah, I mean, he's a special athlete, for sure. It's hard to do the football basketball thing anymore. I don't know if there's a whole lot of people doing that. It seemed like even 10, 12 years ago, you saw that a little bit more than you do now. But if you're looking at someone who could, I mean, I think he's a good candidate for it. And honestly, Jerron Tibbs is another one who's going to Purdue. I think he could potentially, he would be a Division I basketball player if he went that route.
I know an advantage to that would be having a guy on football scholarship and act as if a walk-on on the basketball team, so you don't have to use another scholarship. So that would, in essence, give you 14 players.
Yeah, exactly. And you'd be joining the team a little bit later, assuming you're into Thanksgiving weekend.
Maybe not. He's at Indiana. Don't forget, Kyle.
Right. Well, even the regular season, you're joining a little bit late, but yeah, I mean, that's, I'd be curious to see what ends up happening there because he's going to continue to be a really good basketball player at a program that will lose almost it's basically all of its team. I know they're so loaded at the JV and freshman levels too, but he'll kind of be the guy next year. So along with KJ Wyndham, who's a junior, but so that'll be interesting kind of how his role, transitions and then how his football recruiting blows up. Cause I think he's going to get, even to have a Division I offer, to have any offers now as a sophomore, it's pretty early for football. That doesn't normally happen that way. So he's going to get more, I think.
I know it's pretty early in his tenure, Kyle, but I'm interested to know how has Michael Lewis had an impact on Ball State in terms of the recruiting aspect? I mean, have you seen an uptick there? I know it's not even been a year since he's been there, right? So it's pretty tough to judge, but is there a growing interest in Ball State? Is he doing well on the recruiting trail? Like I feel like a guy with his ties to Indiana, not just Indiana University, but a high school basketball player, knowing the state, I would imagine that you'd see an uptick in the in-state recruiting, and in a MAC school, at a place like Ball State. I mean, that could make all the difference into potentially getting into NCAA tournaments.
Oh yeah, and he he went out right away, and I think it was June of last year at the Charlie Hughes, which is a high school event here, and he was kind of all over the place. They were recruiting actually Marcus Burton, who ended up getting that Notre Dame offer sort of late in the process, and then all of a sudden you can't win that normally. I mean, that's you're going up against Notre Dame as Ball State, and even the time they put in, the little time that they put in there with Lewis at the helm, that's you can't, and that's Marcus Burton's backyard basically. He lives up there, so that's kind of a dream offer situation. Now, if you could have got him, and man, I mean, I can't imagine what he could do. At the MAC level, so that would have been a huge get for them. But they did get a kid who I really like, Mason Jones out of Valparaiso. He's about 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", and he can really do a lot for you. He can shoot. He can, he's a really good player. So I think that's a good pickup, from that perspective. And you've seen them make some headway in the transfer world already with some in-state guys. You've seen them make some headway with some of the younger guys. Ball State's kind of in that situation though with the transfer portal. And some of those schools are like that, my alma mater, Missouri State, and others who are sort of in that Valley MAC range where you kind of have to let the transfer portal play out a little bit. You're not recruiting necessarily or offering guys at super young ages like you did a few years ago because you're kind of waiting on you're recruiting that portal at this point.
Right.
That's just kind of the nature of it. But you're still out there making contact. You're still trying to recruit guys. You're trying to make connections to coaches and AAU coaches, and Michael Lewis does a good job with that. I know because I've talked to him, and he was at Butler, and then of course out at UCLA, Nebraska. So he's been around different places, so he knows this area. I think right away, he was at the state finals for basketball shortly after getting hired. Wearing his Ball State stuff and. So he's got a connection. His brother's on the IHSA staff. So, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but he is plugged into the state, I would say. So yeah, I think he's going to do really well there. I thought when they made that hire, I was really happy for him. And, because I think it's going to be a good situation for him, and I do think Ball State, even under James Whitford, had a good, they had a good connection to in-state kids. And I see no reason why that won't continue.
What's up next for you, Kyle?
Actually finishing a little something on Miles Colvin from last night. I saw him. He's Purdue's recruit for the 2023 class. And, he had some dunks last night that blew my mind. He had a windmill on a breakaway. I've never seen a high school kid. It was like a Dominique Wilkins type of windmill. If you look at my timeline, you'll see it. It's incredible. He also had a tip dunk that was just as good. He said that one was actually better. So, but he's an insane, he'll be he's only 17. So he's a 17-year-old senior who, when you look at him, you're just like, man, this kid is going to be, now he's got some, he's got to play a little harder probably. I think he would say that but I don't think that's a problem. Once you get to Purdue, either you're going to play hard all the time, or you're not going to. So I kind of see it as all the clay is there for Matt Painter to mold. It's just a matter of him getting there and doing it, but he's got a ton of ability. So just writing sort of an update on him. And then I've got some other kind of bigger features cooking for later this week and next week.
Make sure you give him a follow to keep up on all that Indiana high school sports and much more. Kyle Neddenriep from Indian Star. I can't thank you enough, brother.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Dustin.
Thank you very much. Brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, a part of the Endeavor Hospitality WOW Club. Make sure you go there. Start earning your WOW rewards today. Endeavor Hospitality or Metalworks Brewing Company, located just off the square in Bloomington, right off the 6th Street, catty corner from Cabello. Back with the great one, Rick Bozich, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home... Good morning, Rick. How are you, sir? Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Same to you guys. What's going on?
It's getting ready for the Iowa game. Let's see. You've got McCaffrey out, and then these stupid NCAA recommendations so we can have 3,000 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. What is it going to be, 96?
It would be, that would be around 96. That would be a waste of a week or two. How long would it take to get rid of those? What would they be, like a 6-week tournament?
I don't know. It's stupid. Yeah, I don't.
When are they voting on this? Is that what it is? It's a vote.
Timeout. Rick just summed it up perfectly. Stupid. Thank you.
It is. Well, it is. That's about as easy as you can live.
Yep.
How's Ruby?
Ruby's at the her daycare date today with her boyfriends.
All right.
Probably getting the facial right now.
There you go.
Are you going to Iowa?
I am not going this year. I went last year. I only make that trip every other year. That's a hard drive.
It's like 8 or 9
You
hours.
made it twice because you went to the football game last year too.
Oh, yeah. That's
And that's
true.
a 9 o'clock game tomorrow.
Yes. I was like, yeah, that's too hard.
Louisville almost got one last night. Did you watch it?
Oh, no, I was traveling. Who'd they play?
Syracuse. They had them beat
Oh, my gosh, really?
most of the second half, and they lost it in the last 4 minutes by 1.
Jeez. That's got to be good news. I mean, I know there's no moral wins, but no moral victories.
No, they're getting better. And Richard Pitino got beat, so there's no unbeaten teams left.
Yeah, we saw that. But yeah, pretty good job. I mean, they have to be happy. They're happy with him, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, New Mexico. Yeah, their crowds are way up. So, and Purdue got beat again by Rutgers.
Yes, they did. That made a lot of.
So is
people
Michigan
happy.
State the team to beat in the Big Ten now?
Yeah, it's their week. Is their week to be the team to beat?
All right, here we go, guys.
Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway, brought to you by our good friends from Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. If you're down in southern Indiana, right off of I-65, pizza, burgers, beer. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joins us now. Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Had a little bit of a late night last night, as I was telling you off before we got started. Syracuse came into town. I'd made a bold prediction before the week that Louisville would win an ACC game this week. They've got Syracuse, that was last night, and they have Wake Forest on Saturday. They were up 19-10 at one point. They're up 4 with 5 minutes to play. But for the 4th time this year, they lose by a point.
Yeah, that's got to hurt. 69-70, the final there at the Yum Center. But that has to bring there are no moral victories. I know that in sports, but that has to bring some confidence to these teams, to the Louisville team and the coaching staff, at least.
Yeah, they're playing better.
Closer.
They're playing better. I mean, they still make too many turnovers. They had 21 turnovers last night. You're not going to beat anybody when you make 21 turnovers, at least not anybody very good. And then Syracuse is probably a bubble team, which at least kept its hope alive of making the NCAA tournament, because if you lose to Louisville this year, that's a bad loss on Selection Sunday. But yeah, they're getting better. But 2-13 is 2-13.
I saw the attendance for that game, 10,000, I think. No,
11-5.
11-5.
Yeah.
I guess that's probably as good a crowd as they've had this year.
I'd say it's one of the top 2 or 3. I have been to every home game, but I don't remember all the crowds. Yeah, they haven't come close to selling out this year. No,
it's just so hard to imagine the Yum Center not filled for a basketball game. It's mind-boggling, but it hasn't been that way for a while, and that's just crazy. It holds, I think, around 21,000, and it was always completely filled for every game.
Yeah, it was when Rick Pitino was here and had it rolling. It certainly was. It started dropping off, during the Chris Mack era, and it's down there now. And as we've talked about before, it takes a long time to build up a fan base, but you can lose it real quick.
Kentucky also winning on a tight one last night over LSU. While they had obviously a lot more people there, 19,000, that thing still holds 23. Rupp Arena was always full for every game, especially a conference game. LSU, they win 74-71, but yet there were still 4,000 empty seats there.
Yeah, and it wasn't sold out Saturday when they played Louisville. That game used to be a really tough ticket, and there were a lot of empty seats in the upper arena that I saw. on Saturday when I was over there. I mean, people, I don't know, this is right after the holidays. People might, there's a variety of reasons. COVID, people got out of the habit, the expense of doing it. There's so many games on TV. I don't think either of those two fan bases are particularly excited about their team. Kentucky fans a week ago, after they lost to Missouri, were really down on the team. Now they've come back to win the last two, but they play Alabama on the road Saturday, so they might get beat again this weekend.
Let's see. I was also looking at one other thing, but there was I have not read the article yet, but it was in the Athletic, but it's titled "What Happened to John Calipari."
Dana O'Neill wrote that one.
Oh wow! I got to finish the title now that I've opened it up. The title's even better. Is Kentucky's John Calipari now the Jimbo Fisher of college basketball?
Oh,
great headline! Great headline.
That is a number, but yeah. What's the pulse there?
There's a lot of angry fans. They think that the one and done thing is not going to work anymore. That he hadn't done a good job of getting in the transfer portal and getting the right guys. Very critical of his offense. They think he plays too many bigs, not enough post guys, and they don't move the ball fast enough, and they're not aggressive enough on offense. Not new age thinking. They play the dribble drive instead of the 4-out 1-in deal. Some of the same stuff I hear IU fans saying about Mike Woodson of too many post players, and it's clogged up around the middle. But he's got the number one recruiting class in the country coming in next year, so he's got a lifetime contract, so he's not going anywhere unless he wants to.
Yeah, he had the number one recruiting class 9 out of 10 years and only managed one championship out of that. So doesn't mean a whole lot. Speaking of Indiana, they do head to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes, who will be without Patrick McCaffrey, who is taking an extended leave for his mental health, which we hope was the best for him. But a team that's 0-3 in the Big Ten now, that cannot be good for Fran McCaffrey's squad with the Hoosiers coming in. These are two desperate teams, both needing this win. Indiana needs it from the standpoint of showing they can go on the road and play tough and finish the job, because this is going to be a hard game. It's on the road. It's a 9:00 game. You haven't played since last year. There's just a lot of things and they've got kind of a new offense because you don't have Xavier. They've had to adjust to now just being Jalen Hood-Schifino. You're going to have Tamar Bates in the starting lineup. So a lot of change for the Hoosiers, but it's an excellent opportunity for them to get a sneak out a road win in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I agree with you. Considering the way Indiana, they played 3 road games. They won Xavier, then they got punched in the mouth at Rutgers and didn't respond. They got punched in the mouth against Kansas and didn't respond. They can't let that happen again at Iowa. They need to start better. They need to be more aggressive and more physical. It would be concerning if you were Mike Woodson, in my opinion, because Iowa has played those games and Indiana hasn't played. It'd be a 13-day break. I don't like that from the Indiana standpoint. And secondly, I think Iowa's going to have a higher level of desperation. And I know that Patrick McCaffrey is one of their, 3 best players, probably 4 best players. And he's not going to play, but they got to win this game. If they're going to have any hope at all to be in the Big Ten race or even their NCAA tournament possibilities, you can't go 0-4 in the Big Ten and lose a home game. So we'll see how Indiana responds. Indiana's going to have to prove it to me because I haven't seen this team have the level of tenacity they need to have to win on the road the last 2 times they played.
Well, I think what I would like to see, Rick, is we're going to talk about the offense a lot, and you just mentioned not having a game in 2 weeks basically is tough, and then you got to go on the road against a Big Ten opponent. Even though Iowa is struggling, they're going to be without one of their best players. To me, I think what I want to see is in the first 6 to 8 minutes is they're trying to find their jump shot. I don't think it's going to be pretty. How effective are they on the defensive end? Because I feel like at times this season, particularly in games they've struggled, they've allowed the lack of shot making or a lack of scoring to affect what they're doing on the defensive end. If they get after it the first 8 to 10 minutes and don't let the shot making affect their defense, I think they're going to have a great chance to win. But if they get a little lackadaisical, like we've seen at times, and hang their heads and don't get after it defensively, that's where I feel like they can get in trouble, because even though Iowa has struggled recently, that's a team that pushes the tempo, and they can put a lot of points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's their whole MO. I mean, they want to beat you with offense, not defense. When they had their really good teams, that's the way it was. They've always been a below average defensive team. And what I agree with you, what's concerning for Indiana is Xavier Johnson, in my opinion, their best perimeter defender in terms of technique, in terms of mindset, in terms of, being engaged in the game. You're going to have to see it from Hood Schifino and Tamar Bates, that they're going to be the ones who take it, take the defensive mentality into the game. I haven't seen that from those two guys over an entire game yet, and maybe in stretches. And that's going to be a coaching challenge for Mike Woodson to tell those guys, you guys set the tone. You guys are the ones that have to make the other team uncomfortable on offense by actually getting into your man and not, letting them feel comfortable with the ball.
The NCAA's Transformation Committee met and came out with a bunch of ridiculous recommendations that may work for some sports, but the 25% of the members being allowed into a tournament, which would equate to a 96-team NCAA men's basketball tournament. Everyone finds completely and totally ridiculous. I hope to gosh this does not happen. This would really, really water down a great product. That is, I guess nothing is perfect, but this thing is running pretty well. And in an age where especially college sports, are changing at light speed, this thing is still working well. And why on God's green earth would you screw up something that has made it through all of this and still is a shining star?
Yeah, I mean, the only reasons I can think of are money and money and money. 20, I don't know how many would it be? 68 to 94, is that what they're talking about? Or 96?
Yeah, something like
so
that.
That would be what, 28 more teams? I don't know. I'm not very good at math. It's been a long time since I've been in finite math. And then maybe they're doing this to take some pressure off some coaches. So, 28 more coaches can say, I made the NCAA tournament last year. I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, most of the people that I know and I follow on social media who are really plugged into college basketball and follow it all year long and are really intense basketball fans don't like it, but I don't think they care. The people who are behind this see it as a way, to have an extra weekend or an extra 4 or 5 days of games on television and create more revenue. And they think the average fan is more likely to embrace it than, some of us media people are. I don't know.
I would think the majority of coaches, Dustin and Rick, would not want this or the majority of especially P5 coaches, but it's just going to water down. Like I said, it's also another chance for injury. There's just so many things that I don't think that they're getting enough games. They're playing these conference tournaments, which wears guys out before the NCAA tournament. So now you're going to have this a grinding ACC or Big Ten or SEC tournament that grinds for 5 days, and then you're going to turn around and enter a 96-team tournament for another 5 weeks? How long that would take? However long. It just seems like it's just ludicrous.
Well, I mean, there are some unintended consequences too. I don't think they're thinking about in terms of you're also watering down the regular season, which has already been watered down tremendously. What for the average person who's going to tune into this, there's even less incentive to tune into the regular season now because it doesn't really mean anything anymore, right? I mean, what does it mean? Unless you're really into college basketball, the games aren't going to really mean that much. And if you lose a game now in January, you can still probably make the tournament because they're going to take 96 teams this year. And also, when I talk about more coaches getting in, it's also you're going to have more games where a 4 seed is going to lose to a 19 seed, and that's going to be an embarrassment for the coach who had a pretty good season with a 4 seed. So, it all comes down to putting more. It's television inventory. They have all these networks now, and they need to get more inventory to put on there. And their research, I'm sure they've researched this, is that TV has an appetite for it. They will pay for it. Some people will watch it. Yes, we're going to do it. That's what I think.
Well, and real quick, Rick, and then I've got to jet out. But the thing that would frustrate me more about, I would be more open to a 96 team tournament, and people probably would disagree with me, is if they were to do something along the lines of giving a lower conference the regular season champion and the tournament champion both of those an automatic bid. I'm not saying that that's the best solution, because we see a lot of times some of those lower conference teams get demolished in these games. Sometimes they go on a run like St. Peter's or like George Mason or whatever. But to me, that's not going to happen. If you do that, you're going to reward a 6-14 Minnesota, an 8-12 Mississippi State. And to some degree, we already have that. But you would just see more of these Power 5 conference teams that already get enough opportunity to get into the tournament. I mean, we've seen the Big Ten get 9 teams. We've seen the old Big East get 11 teams. So to me, what's going to happen is you're just going to see more mediocrity instead of, let's put 2 teams in, one team that won their conference tournament and then the other team that won the regular season tournament from the lower level.
Well, let me play devil's advocate real quick before you jet off. So that you're telling me you'd rather see Wright State and Northern Kentucky in than another Big Ten team, or North Alabama and Jacksonville State in than another Big Ten. I wouldn't. One of those teams is enough for me.
I think you are on. I think from the aesthetic point of view, I think from watching basketball, that's a great point. Because I think 90% of people would agree with you. I just would like to see a more deserving team get in, as opposed to, we went 7-13.
There's nothing more pitiful in college basketball than the 9th or 10th place team in the ACC or SEC or the Big Ten on the day after Selection Sunday whining about how they didn't make the field.
Exactly.
You had a million chances to make the field. You didn't do it.
Bingo. So I agree with you from the aesthetic point, and as a basketball fan, those games aren't going to be as interesting, more than likely, but from a reward standpoint, I would, if they were going to expand, I would reward those teams that actually accomplish something, as opposed to, we just squeak by and we won 7 conference games, so that's good enough. Give us a spot.
I don't
Dustin,
know.
appreciate you, brother.
Thanks.
I know he's got to run.
Jim, I'm almost at the point, like, if you're going to do this, then just get rid of the conference tournaments and put all 360 teams in the field. Make it like the high school tournament. I mean, go ahead and do it. I mean, I don't know. It's absurd, in my opinion. I mean,
it is.
As you mentioned, it works really well. Everybody has their routine. You got the first 4, and then you got that first big weekend that everybody kind of plans their whole time around and sits there all day Thursday and Friday and watches games. And there's usually like 2 or 3 upsets that people get excited about. And then you see if that team that pulled the upset can do it the second weekend. And then you have a few days off and you get ready for the Sweet 16 and you kind of see who it is. And then the Cinderellas disappear. And then you get to the Final Four and you see who the champion's going to be. I just don't understand it. But these are the same people that, have just given us this bowl season where we watch all these games where there's nobody there. I mean, right? I mean, there's nobody at a lot of these games. They've taken the Rose Bowl from what was, to me, one of the greatest spectacles in college football, and I forgot it was on Tuesday.
Yeah.
This is the Rose Bowl.
Exactly, and it's still a great event, but it's not when it's not a part of the college football playoffs. I don't know if not being in that rotation this year,
right,
it was what caused us to forget about it. But there
was the third or fourth best team from the Big Ten was in there for one thing. That's the third best team.
Yeah,
against Utah, which I guess was the best team in the Pac-12. But I mean, I don't know. And when they go to the 12-team playoffs, even more of these games are going to be, I don't know what they're just irrelevant. And when you got more, Kentucky goes down to play in the Music City Bowl and their quarterback and their running back and a few other guys don't play. And then they come back from the Music City Bowl and their best defensive lineman goes in the portal. As a fan, I don't know, you look at this and say, it's hard to stay invested in teams because the players don't seem to be as invested in the team as the fans are.
What's up next for you, my friend?
Oh, this weekend, Louisville plays Wake Forest, so I'll be seeing that. I think I'm coming up. Indiana plays Wisconsin next week at home, right? I don't think I'm coming to the Northwestern game, but wait and see. What's the latest on Grace Berger? I think she's getting closer to playing, right? That's the big news down here.
Hopefully so. Hopefully that is the case. Indiana women's team still rolling.
Off, and I heard Terry Morin say that she was going to be back, that's the first time they definitively said she was going to be back. And I've been following the IU women. I know they have that loss at Michigan State, and they had an overtime win against Nebraska, but they're playing without their best or second best player at this point. So we'll see what they can do when they get her back. And she's
absolutely
she's a program icon. When, as Jeremy Gray, I saw tweeted earlier this week, 10 years to the day after her career is over, she'll go in the IU Athletics Hall of Fame, which she should. And she's from Louisville, so that's why I follow her.
She's a great one too. I mean, I enjoy her game. She's a true gamer, and look forward to that team getting her back because they're a hell of a team, and they played very well without her. So it's a testament to them, but they're just better with her. There's no doubt she is the.
And just trying to figure out, this Big Ten race is crazy. I mean, Illinois, Indiana started as the favorite. I think they've kind of lost that designation. Then everybody got on Illinois, and they've struggled and had issues with the coach. And now and Purdue gets beat by Rutgers again, this time at home. Is it Ohio State? Is it Michigan State? Who is it? Michigan, blew out Maryland the other day, but the game before they lost to Central Michigan. It's going to be whatever team can hold it together and not have a long losing streak where they kind of lose faith will be the team that wins it.
Yeah, Purdue looked like the team, but then their youth was exposed by Rutgers and their lack of toughness. I guess you could say. I thought that they were a little better than they are, but it's going to take us probably 10 games to see who's really the player and who's not. But look forward to it. It's going to be great. Make sure you give Rick a follow if you're not already. He's the Hall of Fame writer, and he's at WDRB.com. Rick, I can't thank you enough, buddy.
All right. Thank you. I'll see you next week, Jim.
Yes, sir. Rick Bozich joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with more, brought to you by our good friends at Reynolds Family Dentistry. If you're down in the Sellersburg area, reach out to Dr. J for that championship smile, baby. He'll keep you rolling. We got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
K-Bro!
That's one thing I saw somebody tweet this out yesterday.
What a great call, Kevin.
Yeah,
K-Bro. See, you should have come on and said that, man.
I saw somebody tweet yesterday that they would probably, or they should, I don't know if they would actually do this, they should eliminate the NIT if they're going to keep doing this thing.
Oh, man, I wish I'd have saw that earlier, Fred. I'm sorry, I was reading something.
That's a really good call there. That's funny right there, Jay Leno.
I think it's more because of the silver hair. He doesn't have that chin that Jay Leno has.
That's fair.
And Rick is a big guy. He's 6'5".
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very tall.
All right, I'm going to. Oh, I've already showed it. Let's see. Mark. K-Bro. Yes, K-Bro. Great point. I agree. I've got to get back up for a second. Read these. Where did that one go? There we go. We'll start with that one. What a title. Is Kentucky's John Calipari now the Jimbo Fisher of college basketball? Woo!
Go into that a little bit if you want to this segment.
Huh? Oh, we've got to play, what's his name? Hunter Dickinson.
Oh, yeah, Hunter Dickinson. Yes, I did forget about that. We'll start with that. Perfect.
You know what else you forgot about?
Woody. We can do him tomorrow, though, because the game won't happen until tomorrow. So, is there any players? All I saw was Woody.
I believe that's it.
Okay. Well,
they had
I'll get a couple.
They weren't practicing the whole time during the break either. They were gone like 4 or 5 of the days.
So not only they have this long break, they weren't even practicing the whole time. Where are we? Right there. Come on, man, where it is?
Excuse me.
Fun show today.
They're getting better again.
Well, it's always being in the actual studio is. I hate not being in the studio. Hate it.
All right. I've got Hunter Dickinson up, and we are good to go. Here we go.
With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday, January 4th. I hope you're having a great day as we've got you to the halfway point. It's all downhill from now, babe. Indiana takes on the Iowa Hawkeyes tomorrow night on a late game, 9 o'clock in Iowa City. Other games scheduled as well, but looking at some of the games from last night as I'm St. John's Marquette. Okay, it's kind of a good old school game in Lou Carnesecca Arena. You know how many people were there, John?
How many does it hold? Do you know?
I do not.
I don't know how many were there.
3,770. That's less than many Indiana high school basketball games.
College basketball ratings in general are just not what they used to be.
Well, that's Michigan State, Nebraska is 14-7 now at the Breslin Center.
Okay.
So, let's see, Ball State. Toledo, a game at Toledo had more people than St. John's Marquette.
And St. John's is a good team. It's not like they're reeling or anything like that. You may find more U of L fans at the KFC Yum Center, and they're 2-11 or whatever it is.
Miss Tennessee, 16-6 for their win over Mississippi State. I'm trying to look at some other. Man, Louisville drew 11,000, which I guess I want to say it's good, but it's not.
Viewers or 11,000. That does not. I don't. I mean, maybe.
No.
Obviously, I wasn't
because
there was 11,000 in the Yum Center last night.
Because the benchmark, I go back to, you think about Indiana when they were 6-25.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure Assembly Hall was still. I'll have to go back and look, but I think that they were still they may not have been selling it out, but it remained up there. Now here you go. How about Creighton? A home game for Creighton against Seton Hall, 16-5.
Here's the thing. So in the state of Nebraska, it's a lot like Indiana when it comes to the way they support their teams. When it comes to college football, most football fans in the state of Indiana are Notre Dame fans. In basketball, it's obviously IU. In Nebraska, it's the same way. University of Nebraska, typically your football fans, most of your basketball fans side with Creighton.
Texas only drew 10-7 for Kansas State, but Texas Tech with number 3 Kansas in a 14,300 in a tight one. Number 3 Kansas just barely gets by Texas Tech.
Supposedly, the Red Raiders got screwed in that game with a no goaltend call, similar to kind of Indiana. We know a team that we follow that didn't get a fairly important no goaltend call.
Wisconsin beat Minnesota 63-60 in the Big Ten, 13-8. Or 13-8 13,800 in the cold.
Hey, speaking of I guess this does have to do with Wisconsin, but
Yes.
Michigan center Hunter Dickinson had some words to say about the Wisconsin Badgers. Do we want to revisit that right now?
Absolutely.
This is the first time we are hearing this as well. So we're finding out together what Hunter Dickinson had to say here.
Wisconsin, I mean, they're just
He's pausing.
they're scumbags. That's what it is. That's what it is. I'm sorry. They're just scumbags.
When was that?
This is still going too. They're still
Like, nothing I can say about Wisconsin is going to like fire up the matchup even more. So it's like, it already is what it is, but like, yeah, they're scumbags.
Fuck them.
Oh, there we go. We got to drop that there. But yeah, Hunter Dickinson. This was on the Round Ball podcast.
Well, there you go now. It'll be on ours, but it won't be on the
radio side. Didn't hear the expletive right there.
Well, they're hearing you talk about it.
It's okay. We can talk about the expletive. We just can't say the expletive.
Yeah. Yeah, you can figure it out what it is, I'm sure. But that was a little surprise. But yeah, man. Well, there you go. Well, you know what? I'm going to do my best next week. Well, I'm not going to say it until I get it done, but to get us a special guest for when Indiana plays Wisconsin. But how about that? Wisconsin kind of getting under the skin of a lot of people.
Well, we have to remember, too, last year, those were the teams where Juwan Howard and Greg Gard had the altercation. Or it might have been the assistant. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Well, because Juwan had a couple, and I forgot he had one with the Ohio State coach as well, I think. So, yeah, he's had a couple. Tomorrow night, Indiana taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes in a 9:00 game. That's on Fox Sports 1. Prior to that, Georgetown and Villanova is on that same channel. Look at Michigan taking on Penn State at home. Michigan is at home to Penn State. That's at 7:00 on BTN. Looking down to see if there's any other not just games of note, but Big Ten games. Looking down, and I don't see. Man, I'm surprised. There's got to be more than that. Maybe
surely,
not.
Since Indiana has had this long break, they're going to have
Northwestern
3 games in 8 days or something like that.
No, they're pretty spread out nicely, I think. But Northwestern's at Illinois tomorrow night at 9:00 on the BTN. Yeah, that's Northwestern, the game that they should lose, but Illinois has been kind of wonky. You've got Baylor and TCU in the Big 12, both ranked, going at it. Butler hosts DePaul tonight. That's at 9:00 on the CBS Sports Network.
And I don't know that we've mentioned this, but on the call for Indiana tomorrow, Bill Raftery and Jason Benetti.
With a kiss!
That's right. Onions!
Get up! He's funny.
Jason Benetti's good too. I feel like Jason Benetti, do they usually pair him with Robbie Hummel?
Who?
Jason Benetti. Is he usually with Robbie Hummel?
Oh, no, I don't think so. He does so many games that he's not.
Yeah, I know they all go all over the place, but
there's a lot of times where guys are paired up, but he does a ton, man. That's right. Every Big 12 game is worth watching because that league is just kind of just right numbered and still where there's
it'd be like parity. If you took the top 8 Big 10 teams and that was it. Everyone below them wasn't in contention.
Philip asks, is Hunter Dickinson the biggest villain in college basketball? I don't know. If that's not just because of that, maybe that'd be like, an Indiana player saying something about Purdue. Now, they wouldn't say that today. That's kind of the sad thing. I mean, sometimes maybe you want a guy who's got that feeling.
It's like the former Rutgers player. What's his the guy who calls it Indiana? He did it on the
what's his name? Junior.
Ron Harper.
Ron Harper Jr. So there you go.
Yeah, Fred pointing out some colleges still have students on holiday break affecting attendance. Great point. What was the point made earlier by K-Bro? Oh, yes. K-Bro chimed in earlier, and I almost forgot. We were talking about the 25% thing, and he commented, if you count the NIT, which is NCAA sanctioned and owned, by the way, we already have 25% participation? Yeah. What's wrong with the NIT? If you guys were better than that, you wouldn't be in the NIT. So you have enough opportunities to get in. No expansion.
1 minute.
We'll have to rant that every day. Man, I can't thank everybody enough. Gigantic thanks. It was so great to have Bob Kravitz back. It was awesome. Look forward to it. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star as well, and Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Make sure you follow all those guys, and please give me a follow as well at Jim Coyle ISB on Twitter. And please, if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like button. And for everyone else, cannot thank you enough. Thanks to John Producer for keeping us between the white lines, and most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.